All right, mates, it's late September 2025, and the AI money train is not slowing down. Investors are pouring billions into robots, chips, and healthcare, betting these are the sectors that will shape the next decade. But where's the cash actually going, and why should you care? Hang on, because before we dig in, let me tell you this. Did you know only 40% of you are following us across all socials? Come on, guys, hit that follow button and collect our episodes on pods.media. Your support is what keeps the bros going. Thanks.
So today we're really trying to cut through some of the hype around AI.
Yeah, there's a lot of noise.
Exactly. And we want to map out the actual infrastructure that's being built, like right now. Our mission is basically understanding the sheer scale of capital flowing into what people are calling AI's next era. And specifically, we want to explore the synergy, how these three core areas connect: robotics, chip design, and healthcare. They're not really separate things anymore, are they? Not at all. They're deeply interconnected. And I think the essential context here, right off the bat, is just the scale we're talking about and how fast this is moving from sort of potential to actual mandated build-out.
Mandated, yeah.
Yeah, we're seeing tech firms committing tens of billions of dollars, which is just fueling this incredible pace of innovation.
Right.
And to give you a sense of the growth trajectory investors are banking on, just look at the AI healthcare market.
Okay.
Our sources show projections jumping from, maybe $11 billion back in 2021?
Seems like a lot already, but...
Right. But it's projected to hit over $187 billion by 2030.
Wow. That's exponential.
It really is. And that kind of growth, it isn't just, things getting a bit better. It signals a real structural pivot in how these whole industries are going to operate.
Okay, let's unpack that then.
Yeah.
Because, any change that big needs a foundation, a really powerful one. And right now, it seems like that foundation is all about high-performance hardware. We're in this compute arms race, as people are calling it. So before we even get to the cool applications, we need to understand who's actually dominating the chip sector and what's the real scale of the commitment driving this race.
Well, the leaders, no huge surprise, are still Nvidia, and you've got significant players like Broadcom too. But it's the nature of the investment we're seeing, particularly from Nvidia into frontier AI, that's really defining everything right now.
You mean that partnership with OpenAI? The scale there is just mind-boggling.
It is. We're talking about a partnership that, it completely redefines what scale even means for dedicated AI compute. Exactly, $100 billion. And this is the crucial part. It's not just cash. It's an operational commitment. Nvidia is committing to supply at least 10 gigawatts of AI computing power.
10 gigawatts?
10 gigawatts.
Yeah.
That translates to millions of top-end GPUs. And they're specifically earmarked to power cutting-edge AI model training by late 2026.
Okay, so the key insight here is?
The key insight is this isn't just about throwing money around. It signals the end of relying on general-purpose cloud scaling for the biggest, most advanced AI models.
Right. You can't just rent more AWS servers for this stuff anymore.
Not for the frontier stuff, no. This marks the start of a vertically integrated, dedicated compute utility, owned and managed by the chip makers themselves.
That structural shift, I think that's the bit people might miss. Let's try and put 10 gigawatts in context for everyone listening. That's not just a big number. It's, roughly the power draw of a small European capital city? Continuously?
That's a pretty good analogy, yeah. It shows that general-purpose cloud capacity, it's just not cutting it anymore if you want to reach that next horizon of, say, trillion-parameter AI models.
It's just not enough.
Not nearly enough. And that hardware commitment, it basically dictates the future roadmap. OpenAI's next-gen models, they're being specifically designed to run on NVIDIA's upcoming Vera Rubin platform.
Okay, Vera Rubin. Why is that platform so important?
Because it's not just about raw speed, although it has that. It's optimized for efficiently managing the sheer scale of data and the interconnectivity these huge models demand.
Got it.
So it means the race for better AI is now fundamentally, irrevocably tied to being able to build these massive dedicated data centers.
Yeah.
All over the world.
Okay, I understand the commitment. It's incredible. But let's pause here and, bring in a bit of critical analysis. This huge reliance on basically one main supplier, Nvidia, doesn't that feel like a massive strategic vulnerability for the whole sector?
Oh, absolutely. That's a completely valid concern.
If the future of AI hangs on the delivery schedule on the specific architecture of one company, what happens if there's a manufacturing hiccup or a big platform shift they weren't ready for?
It's a risk, no doubt. And it's something the sources are discussing quite openly. This dependence, it creates a potential single point of failure. And yeah, it gives NVIDIA enormous pricing power, huge control over the pace of innovation.
Seems dangerous.
It does. However, the current thinking The thesis among the AI labs seems to be that the performance gains and efficiency you get from these customized systems like Vera Rubin, they outweigh that strategic risk.
For now, anyway.
At least for the immediate goal, which for many is achieving AGI or something close to it. It really just highlights the sheer intensity of this compute arms race. They're optimizing for speed above almost everything else.
Okay, that intensity, that need for speed, it makes sense of the investment. So let's transition from the theoretical capability of the chip to where it actually gets used. That brings us neatly to our next bit. AI in action.
Right.
We've mapped out the engine room, this colossal compute power. Now the question becomes, how do you deploy it? Where are we seeing this computational fire actually being applied in the real world? Let's start with robotics.
Robotics is a huge area of investment, precisely because the sophisticated AI coming out of these new data centers allows for just vastly improved dexterity, environmental understanding, decision-making in robots.
Better brains for the bots.
Essentially. Yes. And the most transformative changes, we're seeing them in specialized manufacturing and, really importantly, in surgical procedures.
Okay, surgery. Can you give us a concrete example? Like something a robot can do now with this new AI that just wasn't possible maybe 5 years ago because of the chip limitation.
Sure. Look at a company like Stryker. They're leaders in medical technology. They are integrating this advanced AI deep into their surgical robotic systems, like the Mako robot for joint replacements.
Okay.
Now, the AI isn't replacing the surgeon, let's be clear on that.
Right, it's an assistant.
It's providing cognitive assistance. It's fine-tuning the control by processing millions of real-time data points, simultaneously visual cues from cameras, tactile feedback from the instruments, the patient's vital signs.
Stuff a human just couldn't track all at once.
Exactly. Not at that speed and granularity during a complex operation. So this allows for significantly more precise movements, minimally invasive approaches, and eventually, semi-autonomous procedures.
Semi-autonomous.
Where the surgeon's role shifts, maybe from purely manual operator to more of a strategic overseer, focusing on the high-level decisions while the AI handles, say, microscopic stability or ensures cuts are within pre-planned boundaries with superhuman accuracy.
Okay, that's a fundamental shift. And if we take that same lens and turn it towards broader healthcare applications beyond the OR efficiency gains, what specific clinical breakthroughs are happening because of this advanced AI, especially in, say, diagnostics or personalized treatment?
The clinical breadth is really stunning. Beyond just smarter patient monitoring in hospitals, AI is becoming truly transformative in proactive and predictive medicine.
Okay, predictive how?
We're seeing AI-powered diagnostic tools become really critical for detecting diseases earlier, especially complex conditions that used to rely a lot on subjective interpretation by doctors.
Like looking at scans.
Exactly. Think about spotting minute early indicators for Alzheimer's disease from brain scans, or identifying specific cancer mutations from pathology slides that might guide treatment, or even predicting cardiac events months before they happen based on subtle EKG patterns.
Wow. That moves beyond just spotting patterns into actually predicting the future almost.
Right.
Which leads to personalized treatment, right? And that's where the data becomes absolutely crucial.
Absolutely critical. The major advancements right now are happening in personalized medicine and also in targeted drug discovery. And this is where platforms like Tempus, for example, become so vital.
Tempus, what do they do?
Tempus works on aggregating these vast pools of previously siloed health data. We're talking genomic data, clinical records, patient outcomes from treatments, results from clinical trials, all anonymized, of course.
Okay, bringing it all together.
Exactly. By connecting all these disparate data points, the AI can then inform precision medicine. It can suggest targeted therapies based on a patient's unique molecular makeup, their specific type of cancer, rather than just the general protocol for, say, lung cancer.
So treatments become far more targeted.
Far more targeted and hopefully far more effective. It's about connecting the dots in the data in ways humans just couldn't before.
That feels like the real transformation engine here. The speed, maybe, at which drug discovery and even repurposing existing drugs can happen now.
It really is. Generative AI, powered by these massive compute resources, is dramatically accelerating the process, synthesizing novel biological sequences, modeling how near drug compounds might interact in the body,
cutting down research time,
drastically reducing the time it takes to go from identifying a disease target to actually testing viable drug candidates in labs or simulations. This whole accelerated discovery pipeline is directly fueled by the computing power we talked about earlier.
Makes sense.
But it is worth repeating the regulatory piece here. None of this happens in a vacuum. Strict adherence to healthcare data regulations like HIPAA in the US or GDPR in Europe is non-negotiable.
Right. Privacy and security are paramount.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that mandated compliance, while it can be complex and sometimes slow things down, is actually what builds the necessary trust and provides the structure for AI to be adopted more widely in hospitals and research labs.
Okay, so we have the chips providing the power, the robots using that power for physical tasks, and medicine using it for diagnosis and discovery. What does it all mean when you put these three pieces together? We've seen the scale, but you mentioned synergy earlier. Explain this virtuous feedback loop that this huge investment is supposedly creating.
Right. The loop is really the engine driving the economic value proposition here. It works like this.
Yeah.
Better, faster, more efficient chips. Think Vera Rubin again. They power exponentially smarter AI models.
Okay, step one.
Step two, that smarter AI enables highly advanced applications, like the precision surgical robots we discussed, or breakthroughs in personalized medicine.
Step three.
Step three, these breakthroughs, they unlock enormous value, both economic value, lower healthcare costs, higher productivity, and societal value, like saving lives. And that value, that success, justifies the next cycle of even bigger investment back into chip design and building out that AI infrastructure.
Got it. It feeds itself.
It's a self-reinforcing, compounding investment strategy. At least that's the theory.
Okay, but let's push back on that a bit. If, say, 90% of that initial investment and control is currently concentrated with the big chip makers like Nvidia and the large foundation model builders like OpenAI, how truly virtuous is that loop for the smaller guys? The robotics startups, the specific healthcare AI firms, aren't they just becoming massively dependent on this very expensive infrastructure?
That's absolutely the structural tension within this ecosystem. You've hit on a key point. While the smaller innovators definitely benefit from the capabilities offered by big tech,
They get the tools.
they get the powerful tools, yes, but they're often locked into these highly concentrated supply chains. They face very high costs for accessing that cutting-edge compute power.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why the broader ecosystem of players is so critical. It's not just Nvidia and OpenAI. You have major institutional investors pouring money in. You have other tech heavyweights, Microsoft, Oracle, SoftBank, who are actively trying to build alternative infrastructure layers. Or maybe develop specialized AI solutions within healthcare or robotics, partly to mitigate that reliance on one or two primary providers.
Trying to create some competition or at least options.
Exactly. Options and perhaps different pricing models, too.
Okay. So despite all the excitement and the, potential for a truly transformative decade here, there has to be a counterbalance. This is a deep dive, not just hype. What are the major risks, the big structural hurdles ahead that our sources are flagging, things that could actually slow this whole thing down or even derail this multi-trillion-dollar vision?
Yeah, the sources are pretty clear on the headwinds. They generally identify four critical ones. First is simply the sheer cost and complexity of scaling this up.
Building it all.
Right. The massive capital requirements are one challenge. But just maintaining a resilient supply chain for these incredibly specialized chips and the other components needed, that's a persistent systemic challenge, especially when you factor in geopolitical risks disrupting those chains.
Okay, cost and supply chains. What's next?
The second hurdle, and this one seems to be getting louder with every billion invested, is energy.
The power consumption, we touched on that.
It's becoming maybe the existential question of this compute arms race. The energy consumption required for these specialized AI data centers and the broader sustainability implications, it's a huge issue.
It has to be.
I mean, if the growth of AI capability is fundamentally tied to how much power it consumes, that puts it on a direct collision course with global climate goals and sustainability efforts. Every new data center, every extra gigawatt switched on, intensifies that pressure. It drives up operational costs, attracts regulatory scrutiny. It's a major bottleneck, potentially.
A very physical, real-world bottleneck. What about the financial side? Beyond the initial investment, are companies actually proving they can turn this amazing tech into sustained profit?
That's the third hurdle. Market adoption and proving the ROI, the return on investment. The tech might be incredible, but companies still need to successfully integrate these, often very expensive AI systems, into existing hospital workflows or factory floors.
Integration is always harder than it looks.
Always. And they need to prove a clear, measurable return on that investment to justify the ongoing funding needed to keep those taps open. Those integration challenges are frequently underestimated.
Okay, and the fourth?
The fourth is navigating the technological and, crucially, the ethical complexities, especially when you're dealing with high-stakes fields like medicine or autonomous robotics.
Right. Lives are potentially on the line.
Exactly. Managing these massive data sets ethically, mitigating algorithmic bias, which is a huge concern, as biased AI could lead to unequal patient outcomes, and just ensuring robust safety protocols. All of this requires extremely careful, often slow, and definitely expensive oversight.
Not like launching a social media app.
Definitely not. You simply cannot move fast and break things when human health and safety are involved, or at least you absolutely shouldn't.
Okay, so 4 big hurdles: cost supply chain, energy, ROI adoption, and ethics safety. Quite a list.
It is. But if we try and connect this all back to the bigger picture, the overall conclusion seems to be that this wave of investment, despite the hurdles, isn't just speculative froth. It feels foundational.
Foundational how?
By deliberately vertically aligning the top chip makers with the leading AI innovators and then targeting specific application sectors like healthcare and robotics, they're intentionally building this self-sustaining powerhouse ecosystem we talked about.
Right.
The stakes are incredibly high, billions of dollars, yes, but also profound societal changes are implied. So this investment signal, it really does point towards a genuinely transformative decade ahead, assuming those hurdles can be managed.
Absolutely. And I think the core takeaway for you, the listener, has to be this: understanding where this immense amount of cash is flowing into chips, into robotics, into healthcare. That's really the key to understanding the next era, not just of global industry, but potentially of everyday life, too. This is literally where the future is being architected and built right now. And speaking of hurdles, we mentioned energy consumption as a major one. That's a final thought I really want to leave you mulling over today. Given these massive and growing energy concerns for the new AI data centers, how is this accelerating compute arms race, the one expecting millions of new super high-power GPUs by late 2026, how is that eventually going to collide with global sustainability goals? What gives first? Will it be legislation, technological limits? Or will we find a way to power it all? What stands out to you as the critical pressure point there, something to think about?